Welcome back. Cup of coffee number 2. Video number 2 of part 1, which was your introduction to Coshocton County Flint. It's a lot of material, and what we're trying to do is lay this out so that you can go back and revisit these a couple times to get your feet under you. I had mentioned some good books, essentials, some good journals, essentials, and a couple pieces that we just didn't get to in our last video. So welcome to part 2. This is what we call actually a paleo blade. And whether you're reading Collins' book or Gramley, the bottom line is these things are characteristically 2 to 3 times longer than they are wide. And they are usually uniface, which means little to no chipping on one side, and on the other side we can actually see where they did their work. And what I'm seeing is little worn out places where they had inscribers, but this indeed is an incredibly beautiful, nice long flute coming down the cone of percussion right here. This is a treasure out of Coshocton County, and for your collection as well. So we had mentioned that in looking at the Flint, we have 3 basic umbrellas that we wanted to cover. One was the resident Flint, which we did in our last video, black, gray, and blue, and we looked at the variances of that. And then we had left out, we just didn't have enough time to say that those are the basic 3. The 4th one would be the cherts, the browns, light browns, middle browns, dark browns, and it's crude stuff. It just looks crude. But nevertheless, that chert turns up on every site, especially on my dig site over around Newcomerstown where I'm working. So then the second umbrella that we mentioned was exotic Flint. Exotic found in Ohio, outside of Coshocton. The third umbrella was exotic, found out of Ohio, and we only had 2 examples of that. And then finally, and I could even stick this under a 4th umbrella and just simply call it alterations, because that changes the whole ball game, puts it into a whole entirely different language. And that's something that you'll learn like graduate school, or after years of walking, or just spending time with people that seem to have a lot of integrity and know what they're talking about. So we're going to relocate, and I hope this is going to be a lot of fun for you, but it's going to be your quiz time. So we're going to turn the camera off. I have to walk over to a different table. We'll start right back up. See you in a minute. Thank you for your patience. Now we're going to take a look at some stuff from field walks. Come on up, and we'll start right here. Remember one of my umbrellas that I said was alterations? And those are all the things that can change Flint. It could be water polish, it could be glacial tumbled, it could be a nodule, it could be in or around a fire pit, it could be heat treated Flint. All these things can alter the colors, take it from what it is, God's pink little bottom, the way he made people on day 1, to change with time. So let's start with these 2 frames. What these are pieces that I've picked up just across the years in fields where I've been walking, and it's hilarious to me that people will say, oh no, paleo never heat treated, or never used heat or any of their stuff. And yet even in this frame there's a ton of paleo pieces that have been in a fire pit. Now, were they thrown in a fire pit after they were broken or they couldn't use them? That would need a lot of further microscopic detail. But fired Flint, either heat treated or in a fire pit. Come on up here, more Flint that's either come out of a fire pit or been heat treated. Now this little section right here, with a little carryover right here and right here, these have been cooked almost to the point where it's ashen in color. And you'll learn that. This will come with time, and you'll be able to recognize it. And then the other thing, if you think of a piece of Swiss cheese, if you look at these pieces, they're missing Flint, like little pop marks, little pop marks. I'm going to go down to the corner now. Little pop marks. And that's one of the things that Flint does with varying amounts of heat or moisture in the stone. It pops, kind of like Swiss cheese. But these will be important to you later, and these will talk to you after you learn their language. Right now, I'm just saying that heat alters the color of flint. What was blue can end up being orange with certain amounts of heat. So the remaining frames are actually off of sites. This 6, 7, 8, this is one site. These are 8 frames of over 50 frames that have come off this one site. And keeping in mind the 3 basic colors of Coshocton flint, do you see a true blue here? Do you see a true all black here? And do you see a true gray? Gray, just gray as you know gray, like my hair. You know, do you see gray here? No, what we see are variations off those 3 basic colors, and that's what we're going to take a look at. Let's start all the way over here, and what I'm going to do is just show you flint that we would typically find on a site in Coshocton County. And I had mentioned to you why I frame things up the way I do, because I don't want to lose sight that it's a multi-component site, and that includes work activities, living activities. And when you see the diversity of tools and flint types that come off your site, whether they're broken or not, it keeps you out of your box. It keeps you thinking fresh thoughts, asking questions. What's this? What did they use that for? So we're gonna just sweep down. In this field, there is some Flint Ridge. Definitely Flint Ridge. Possibly, most people would say, oh, Flint Ridge. No, look at the blue. This is blue flint. It's been heated, and there's even some cracking in here from the heat, okay? Coming up over here, oh, that's definitely Flint Ridge. Well, it is. It's Van Port, but it's an outcrop of Flint Ridge flint in Coshocton County. And all these others characterize either the blacks with some variants, the blues with some variants. This is Delaware Chert. Remember we said we had some exotics that are out of the county. This is one of the ones that's out of the county. If you're from Coshocton, I think you would be aware of the fact that this is commonly found on paleo sites. Up here, a little more black, a little more blue. And this particular site is multi-component, but it is heavy with late woodland material. And what I'm seeing in this county is that a lot of the late woodland is getting back to the true grays and closer to the true blacks and closer to the true blues. This is an interesting piece because it's not like any other color, and yet it is. This was black when it was initially dug out of the ground, heavily patinated, full of iron. This is a very heavy triangulated little late woodland knife, heavily patinated. Started out black, but look at it now. It looks brown. All right, well, let's have fun. Let's cruise through these frames, and let me just point some stuff out. And we're not going to belabor anything. We're just going to have fun and look. One thing that dominates every site in this county, especially if you have a village site or a serious village site, is a volume of blades, unbelievable amount of blades. Some of them are parallel type blades, some are flake knives. So we have some flake knives up here, and we have some blades down here, but let's look at colors again. You can see there's a blue, but look how blue can move into gray right here. So we have blue, we have some blue, gray. So is this gray with blue, or is this blue with gray? Here is a blue base. I know that this flint is coming out of the same flint pits as this, and these will disappear as it oxidizes. Gray. This is getting so close to the main streamline gray in Coshocton County. I'll just point to these. But look here. Is this blue with gray, or is this gray with blue? So you have that diversity throughout the county, and so black leading into blue, or is this just a really deep dark blue that almost looks black? Some of this is just, you can't answer it. The parameters are really wide, and you just say it falls within the range of these colors. Now slipping up here, I had mentioned to you that Nelly chert pops up on a lot of sites in Coshocton. And here's some Nelly, and probably 50% of the time or more, it's associated with Paleo, late Paleo, early Archaic. Not always, but more than not. Just incredible blades that come out of here. Has to be 2 or 3 times longer than it is wide. But what are we looking at? We're looking at blue that's leaning gray, or are we looking at gray that's bending out toward the blues? If we heated that, this whole thing would change. And then again, we have grays. Look at this. Here's one of the blacks. Not like ebony black, just a lighter, cruder black. But look, it's got gray. Or is it gray with some black? Up here, we're looking at some other tools. This is a Nelly tool. This is Paleo. And we have some black. We have some variants on some blues. Nelly chert, gray. This is that, I'm calling this just jokingly Robinson's flint, because the flint pits for this is close to a friend of ours by the last name of Robinson. And it's characterized by just the large amount of iron in the flint. And of course, iron, when it oxidizes, it gets that orangey or yellowish or reddish color. So you heat it and that advances all of that. Again, the grays, the blues, gray with blue, gray, some blue, gray with some white, gray, white. Come on over here. Again, we had mentioned Nelly, and look at this, Nelly, and you can tell right off that these are probably a type of lancelet. Look at the blades, parallel side, uniface, at least 2 times longer than it is wide, and these are great examples. I love this piece because the cone of percussion has been altered to create an engraver that is unbreakable. Remember, to start a car, you have to put the keys in the ignition. To understand flint, a piece of a flake, a blade, a biface, or even a uniface, you start at the cone of percussion, and that gets you on your journey. Up here we have some blues, we have alternating grays coming down here. This is a late woodland site. First stage floodplain coming out of Coshocton County by one of the big rivers. And it's interesting because for whatever reason, as we get into the late woodland culture, I'm seeing closer examples of the gray, closer examples of the blue, closer examples of what the true black is. Now, either the people have been out there longer and they're finding better, more refined flint pits, or what, I don't know. But here we go. Look at the grays, look at the blacks, and the alterations. How it can vary gray to black, blue to white, white to blue. What is it? And then up here we'll finish with this frame. Again, we have our variants of gray with yellow, gray with yellow, gray with yellow. This would be a lot different if it was heated. The gray would be darker and the yellow would just be so profound. And then look at the darkness, the absoluteness of getting closer to the mark on black coming out of this. Look at this blade. Oh, this is a do backflips over. It's beautiful. Uniface, cone of percussion. The distal end has been chipped. We're looking at the underside or the ventral side of this piece. Gang, this was a wonderful jog down, for me, memory lane, walking through fields. And it is. But I do my frames, this is so important, so that it'll encourage your brain to grow. It'll encourage you to grow, to not sit in the same chair every time or wear the same shoes or even wear the same hat. Meet people that know a little bit more than you. Don't be afraid to ask questions. A little bit of wisdom is don't overwhelm anybody with your questions. 2 or 3. A little frame with maybe 6 pieces. What are they? And that'll get you started. So I hope you had a good tour through Flint from Coshocton County. Thanks. I can't wait to see you again.